Just one of the greatest series you could ever wish to see or be part of. I know you're on the wrong end, but come on. When you watch that back...
Everyone says one of the great series. Let me give you my perspective on it.
Okay.
First test we won, yes, I got hit in the head. Second test, I got win the toss and bowl. They got a 400 on the first day. Third test, what happened there? I don't know what happened in the third test. Fourth test, run out by a substitute fielder. Fifth test, bad light stops play. I've got to call the game off and go and hand over the trophy to Vaughan. So let's not get too carried away. No, look, it was an amazing series to be a part of for a number of reasons. I think it put the Test match game back on the map, to be honest. The Test match game was probably fading a little bit then, needed a series like that in 2005. The newspapers and media all over the country, it was just all about Ashes cricket. There was football wasn't being spoken about. I remember trying to get into the ground here on day 5, thousands and thousands of people lining the streets trying to get in and watch something pretty special that was unfolding through that series. So it was an amazing one to be a part of.
We were chuckling at that run out.
Well, you watch it as many times as you like. You'd never tire of it. A magical, memorable summer. There won't be a better Test series in my lifetime, I don't think. There can't be, because the quality of the cricket was unbelievably high. You had great players at the absolute top of their game, and each game was incredibly close, apart from the first game, actually, which Australia ran away with. Then it seesawed, and you couldn't call it. So, just fantastic. I always think about Shane Warne as well in that summer, on the wrong end of it, but I thought his greatness as a cricketer really shone through in that summer, because the only Ashes series that he lost as a player was one where he took 40 wickets and scored 240 runs or something.
I think he was our third or fourth leading run scorer.
Incredible. And the making of Freddie, and probably the best English fast bowling attack of my time that I've seen. And Ricky's right about it reinvigorating the game. It reinvigorated the Ashes, because obviously in the years beforehand when we'd played, they dominated. I think I'd lost 7 Ashes series in a row. England hadn't won one between 1989 and 2005. So it really reignited the Ashes. And of course it lit the fire under them for the series coming down under, which they then obviously ramped home and whitewashed England.
That's the forgotten series, isn't it?
Well, there's a few forgotten series. Any time we're beaten that way down under. Broadie's forgotten the last one in COVID, so there's a few that we've forgotten down there.
I mean, Joe Root, England's greatest, said to us this morning, standing here, that series inspired him. He was copying you with your backlift and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you would think there would have been a generation of Australians and English men and women that whole series had something to do with their love for the game, and certainly their love for the Test match game. We know that most young people now are brought up on white ball cricket and T20s and one-dayers and whatever, but that series, I'm sure, did wonders for the game all around the world.
Not just in England, because if you remember, I chatted to Bryden Cast before the Test match began. He grew up in Port Elizabeth, and I said to him, the Ashes are coming this winter. As a South African growing up in South Africa, you surely didn't think much about the Ashes. He said, I watched 05. I was inspired by 05. So not just in England, but around the world.
We talk about Ben Stokes being a leader. What about Michael Vaughan's leadership in that period?
Tactically, very astute captain. One of the best that I've seen. I mean, I think I'd put Stokes right at the top from what I've seen as England captains, but Michael Vaughan just behind. He got important runs here, 160 in the first innings here. So he's a wonderful player in his own right. But I think he was a very sharp operator, Michael, and even on those mornings, like on the last morning at the Oval, where he said later on that he felt nauseous and sick, so nervous was he. You couldn't tell that from his demeanour. Quite a cool cat out in the middle. And the players played for him as they do the best captains.
Did that tax you, that series, more than any other you've been involved in, player and captain?
Yeah, probably looking back, yeah. Well, I mean, because of how tight the series was and how much, it was like the series was on the line for every ball that was bowled right the way through. That's certainly the way it felt. Every game just went, ebbs and flows of every game went up and down, back and forward to each team. So, and then obviously when you're not winning as well, when you're away, when you're in the UK in particular as a captain, when things aren't going exactly your way, then it can get difficult. Newspapers turning up at hotels with people dressed in kangaroo outfits and all this sort of stuff, trying to get a snapshot of you. Like there was a few little things like that went on. But look, it's those memories that you miss when you're retired, and Joe will eventually get there. We had that great chat with Joe Root this morning. Little things like that you experience are the things that you really miss. Although you're going through some, trying times, that's what you play the game for. You want to be challenged. And you talk about Test cricket, it's a test of every single part of your makeup, whether you're just a player, and sometimes it can be harder as a leader.
High drama. I'm fascinated you say that, though, about that innings. Where would that rate?
Number one.
Number one.
Yep, number one. The enormity of the moment. Ashes 1-1 coming here in an unusual situation as a team to try and bat out the whole last day to hang on for a draw, although Warne had other ideas there with about an hour and a half to go. He thought when we were six down needing 80 to win that we were going to win the game, and he nicked the next ball, so that was that thought gone. No, that is my number one proudest moment. I mean, I made bigger scores, but probably slightly better innings. But as far as a rearguard action, stick my hand up as a captain, and as I said there, as a number 3 batter, that was always the important thing for me. When I was batting, I was a batsman. But that day I had to do both. I had to stand up as the captain and the leader of an Ashes team and make sure I got the job done for my team.
Have you ever celebrated a draw so hard?
Oh, did you see me there anywhere? I wasn't on that balcony because I couldn't face the watching. I couldn't face McGrath batting those last 3 or 4 overs. I was curled up in the corner at the back, just listening to the emotion of the crowd and sending the old message out via the 12th man as to what McGrath had to do to try and keep those last couple of balls out. But to be honest, I mean, as time goes on, you hear these stories about what Vaughan had to say, and look at the Australian. I wasn't aware of that. That's what was happening because I was out the back, as I said, minding my own business, trying to get over the fact that I thought I'd actually lost a Test match, getting out like I did. I thought that the game was over. So that's what I was dealing with.
In terms of messages, didn't you have to tell McGrath to stand out of his crease or something?
Well, you could see the highlights there. We knew how Flintoff and Harmy were going to bowl to him. It was going to be full and straight and swinging in. So I sent a message out with McGilla to tell Pidge just to bat a couple of yards out of his crease, and he took that pretty literally. So he literally measured 2 yards out and stood out there. The first ball was a plain miss outside off stump, and Geraint caught it and threw it back to Matthew Hoggard at short leg, and Pidge was still standing 2 yards out of his crease. So I had to send another message out to say, when the ball goes past you, mate, make sure you get back into your crease.
You were commentating for Channel 4. From your point of view, looking from the commentary box and the whole atmosphere of the day, to when you came to the ground, what was that experience like?
Yeah, we had to abandon our car to make sure that we got in on time. We just set off at a normal time, not expecting any undue crowds, but there were 20,000 people locked out of the ground. I remember the club and the police actually sending messages out on local radio and the airwaves to try and implore people not to come because the ground had already shut the gates. They couldn't get any more in. And it is a football city, really, but, for an Ashes Test match like that, there was such enthusiasm to come on that last day. I think the club charged a tenner to get in. So they were
missed out there, didn't they?
rushing in, and 20,000 outside, locked out. So we had to abandon our car. I remember that Duncan Fletcher said that his wife, Marina, thought there'd been a bomb scare or something because when the players' families arrived, they just saw all these thousands of people walking away from the ground, and they're thinking, what's going on? But those were the people that couldn't get in. And then the drama of the last day, brilliant innings from him. And I think that's right. That's how you measure yourself as a cricketer when the going gets really tough. How can you stand up and compete in those circumstances? Brilliant reverse swing bowling from England. England had an Aussie bowling coach, Troy Cooley. And I know the Aussies were kind of wondering why are they reverse swinging it? Why we're not? And, Flintoff and Jones were brilliant reverse swingers of the ball. Sadly, Simon Jones only played one more game at Trent Bridge. That was his last Test match. But that was a terrific 4-man pace attack, no respite, relentless, beautiful sound when Michael Clarke's off stump was knocked clean as a whistle out of the ground.
Shall we listen?
I remember that. Dunk. What a sound. You could have that as your ringtone, couldn't you, on your phone?
Might
just
have been
to
nice
remind
for you.
you.
It wasn't so good up the other end, I can tell you that right now.
Was that one of the big differences between the sides, the reverse swing that they got?
Oh, 100%, yeah. And I thought they were just really well prepared. Remember that Ashes series was right at the back end of the summer, so the wickets were always going to be quite dry. And we'd heard some stories about Simon Jones coming in, that he was only allowed to bowl with an old ball, even in county cricket. He was only allowed to bowl with an old ball for a certain amount of time leading in to that series to get that reverse swing part of his game right. So they were prepared. I mean, the wickets being dry helped Warne, obviously, but it helped them with their, as you say, that 4 that they had, Hoggard and Harmy with a new ball, and then when the ball got old, you had Freddie and Jones coming on the back of that, and then Giles to try and tie up an end with his spin. It was a very well-rounded attack.
Proves draws in Test match cricket can be thoroughly exciting.
They can be, and there's no moral failing to draw a game. If you can't win it, you know, damn well make sure you don't lose it. And they fought tooth and nail not to lose that game. It was a fantastic rearguard innings from Ricky.